Imagine, if you will, a world where the unthinkable happened. The Nazis won World War II. As we venture into this alternate history, let's explore the immediate aftermath of this contested conflict. Picture a Europe, not divided by national borders, but unified under the singular oppressive rule of the Third Reich. The swastika, symbol of the Nazi regime, replaces national flags, casting its ominous shadow across the continent. In the political sphere, the Nazis assert their dominance. Democracy, a cornerstone of Western civilization, is replaced by totalitarianism. The Nazis' iron fist rules with an unyielding grip, and the once proud nations of Europe become mere provinces in Hitler's sprawling empire. Germany's influence doesn't stop at Europe's borders. Their tendrils reach out, seeping into the fabric of societies far and wide. Countries are forced to adapt, to bow to the New World Order or face the wrath of the Nazi war machine. Meanwhile, the Allies, those stalwart defenders of freedom, find themselves isolated. The United States, once a beacon of liberty, is forced to look on helplessly as the world order shifts dramatically. Britain, too, stands alone, a solitary island in a sea of totalitarianism. But it's not only the political landscape that changes. The cultural, social, and economic fabrics of Europe are drastically altered. A cloud of fear and uncertainty descends as the Nazis impose their ideologies and suppress dissent. However, beneath the surface, a resistance simmers. Defeated, but not destroyed, the remnants of the democratic world hold on to hope, a flicker in the encroaching darkness. They dream of a day when the iron grip of the Nazis will be broken, and freedom will return to Europe. But for now, their dreams remain just that, dreams. The reality is far more chilling. An iron curtain of totalitarianism descends upon Europe, creating a chilling New World Order. In this New World Order, society would be drastically different. Picture a world where the cultural, intellectual, and artistic diversity we enjoy today is stripped bare. The Nazis, with their rigid and extreme ideology, would have a profound and far-reaching impact on every facet of life. First, let's consider the world of arts and literature. In a Nazi-dominated world, art would no longer be a platform for free expression. Rather, it would become a tool for propaganda, with every brushstroke, every word penned, echoing the party's ideology. Works that did not fit into the prescribed Nazi mold would be deemed degenerate and destroyed. This would lead to a stagnation of creativity and innovation, leaving the world poorer for it. Science, too, would not be immune. The Nazis' pseudoscientific racial theories would warp the course of scientific research. The pursuit of knowledge would be replaced by a pursuit of proof for their racial superiority. Advances in medicine, technology, and space exploration could be delayed by decades, if they happened at all. But perhaps the most significant change would be in the realm of individual freedoms. The Nazis' racial ideology, enforced on a global scale, would lead to a dystopian society marked by widespread human rights abuses. Those deemed racially inferior would face discrimination, persecution, and worse. Freedom of speech, freedom of religion, the right to a fair trial, these fundamental rights would be trampled under the boots of the Nazi regime. Living in such a world would mean living in fear, fear of being different, fear of speaking out, fear of being oneself. A world where every aspect of life, from the arts to the sciences to personal freedoms, is dictated by an oppressive regime. A world of oppression and uniformity emerges, stifling individuality and freedom. This is the chilling picture of a world under Nazi rule. But remember, this is just a what-if scenario. The real world, with its vibrant diversity and freedom, stands as a stark contrast to this dystopian vision, and it's up to us to keep it that way. Without the United Nations as we know it, the Cold War takes a drastic turn. Imagine a world where the ideological tussle between democracy and fascism replaces the familiar narrative of democracy versus communism. A world where the Nazi-dominated globe locks horns with the last bastions of freedom, primarily the United States. In this alternate reality, the stage would be set for a new kind of international tension. The world would no longer be divided by the Iron Curtain, but by a steel wall, a line of demarcation between the territories under Nazi control and those still free. The Nazis' relentless pursuit of global dominance would undoubtedly lead to an arms race, much like the one we saw in our timeline. But this time, the deadly dance of power would be between a Nazi superpower and a resistant United States. The arms race would not just be about nuclear weapons, but also about advanced technology and genetic manipulation, both areas where the Nazis showed a keen interest. With no United Nations to mediate, to impose sanctions, or to act as a platform for dialogue, the world would be a volatile place. The Nazis, with their belief in racial superiority and their disdain for diplomacy, would likely push the world over the brink into another war, a war that would dwarf the horrors of the first two world wars. This war would not simply be a fight for territories or resources, it would be a battle for the very soul of humanity, a desperate struggle between the forces of freedom and the shadows of oppression. The United States, standing as a beacon of liberty, would rally the remaining free nations in a courageous bid to halt the march of tyranny. The world is once again ravaged by war as freedom fights against oppression. In this grim reality, the stakes would be higher than ever before. For if this war were lost, it would not just be the end of a nation or a people, but the end of freedom itself. But all empires, no matter how powerful, eventually fall. And so it seems the Nazi regime, despite its initial triumphs, was no exception. The seeds of its downfall were sown within its own ideological framework. The Nazi regime championed an unsustainable ideology, one that was built on a foundation of racial superiority, aggression, and continuous expansion. This, coupled with the regime's disregard for human rights, created a volatile environment ripe for rebellion and resistance. The regime, fueled by its own hubris, believed it could maintain control through fear and repression. But as history has shown us time and again, people eventually rise against oppressors. The Nazis' oppressive rule led to widespread unrest. The spirit of rebellion was ignited, not just amongst the oppressed minorities, but also within the very heart of the regime itself. Internal conflicts began to bubble to the surface. Dissenters within the regime, disillusioned by the brutality and the unsustainable nature of their ideology, started to question the leadership. Power struggles ensued, further fragmenting the once seemingly invincible regime. The Nazi edifice, which had been constructed with such grandeur, was beginning to show signs of cracking. The Nazis, in their quest for world domination, were also continuously at war. The resources, both human and material, were being exhausted at an alarming rate. The economy, once buoyed by the spoils of war, was now strained to its limits. The cost of maintaining such a vast empire was proving to be too much. The empire was overstretched, its citizens overtaxed and discontented. All these factors, the unsustainable ideologies, the internal conflicts, the continuous wars, gradually chipped away at the foundations of the Nazi regime. The once powerful empire was on the brink of collapse. The world watched as the seemingly invincible Nazi regime began to crumble under the weight of its own contradictions and overreaches. As the Nazi regime crumbles, the world breathes a sigh of relief. In the aftermath of the Nazi regime, the world is left in ruins. This is the stark reality of our alternate history. The once thriving cities, the symbols of human ingenuity and resilience, are now mere shadows of their former selves. The end of the Nazi regime marks the beginning of a new era, an era of reconstruction, of healing, and of unity. The world, having experienced the depths of darkness, now yearns for a future filled with light. But the road to recovery is long and arduous. What was once a world united by shared values and aspirations has been shattered into fragments, each piece carrying the scars of the past. Yet amid the ruins, there is hope. Nations once divided by ideology and power, now come together to rebuild. They learn from the darkness of their past and strive to create a future where such atrocities can never happen again. They understand that unity, not division, is the path to peace. The world of this alternate history takes on the monumental task of reconstruction. Cities are rebuilt, brick by brick, societies are reformed, and a new global order begins to take shape. But the scars of the past are not easily forgotten. They serve as reminders of the horrors that can arise when power is wielded without restraint. As the decades pass, the world continues to heal. The structures that once stood as grim reminders of a dark era are replaced with symbols of hope and unity. The world is not the same as it was before the Nazi regime, but it is stronger for having survived it. In this alternate history, the world learns a valuable lesson. The horrors of the past are not to be forgotten but to be remembered. They serve as a stark reminder of what can happen when hate prevails over love, when division prevails over unity. From the ashes of the past, a new world emerges, forever shaped by its dark history. This world, scarred yet resilient, stands as a testament to the indomitable spirit of humanity, a reminder that even in the darkest of times there is always hope for a brighter future.